All right, let's talk two-ply acrylics and working with two-tone or two-color materials. So today we're going to talk about how we made this cute little keychain with our pink over white acrylic from IPI. So just to kind of give you an overview of how to order, what it means, caps, cores, there's a lot of different words to learn when you're working with two-ply or two-color material. So with our material for our project today, we used a pink over white material. So this material has a cap, or the top layer, which is pink, and the core, or the bottom layer, which is white. So what that means is the cap of the material, or the top of the material, is what is going to be your background, and then the core is going to be your text. So when you're ordering, think about if you're going to order pink over white, the pink or the top layer is going to be your background, and the back layer is going to be your text. And that can be a little confusing because it's on the top, but that's just something to think about when you're working with two-ply acrylic. So any other tips for ordering two-ply material for your projects?
Yeah, so you can also order it with adhesive already applied, but we also sell this 3M tape separate as well. So if you want to buy the material, maybe you only put adhesive on some of it, you can do it yourself, but we also have options where you could get this adhered to the whole sheet.
Yeah, so for our design today, it was a keychain, but this might be something maybe that you were adhering to a sign, or you were creating some sort of project that you wanted adhesive on the back. You can get material with adhesive on the back. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to actually fabricate your projects with two-ply acrylic, but before we get into that, we're going to give you some tips and tricks for designing your two-ply or two-tone material projects. So the key to designing is what?
So you want to look at the negative space. So you're going to have like logos or lines. You don't want your design to be too heavy to where the pink's covered up, because that's ultimately the point of the project, is you want to be able to see, for this example, the pink, and then the contrast with the white.
Yeah, so designing for two-ply acrylic is all about creating that contrast. So we've created the contrast with Ellie's name here with our design file. And then something else to consider when you're designing your project with your two-ply acrylic is use vector artwork. That's going to give you the best result and the cleanest cut. If you're using PNG or raster artwork, it's not going to be as clear. Now, Beam Studio does have some tools that can assist with that, but typically we recommend using vector artwork for your two-ply acrylic projects. So we're going to show you and give you some tips and tricks for how to make a two-ply acrylic keychain. The artwork file is actually available here. If you want to click and try it on your own, you're more than welcome to. It's in the description. But so let's talk a little bit about the question that everybody has: settings. How do I find my settings? So a really great thing to do is run a material test.
Yes. So acrylic cuts very, very easily, especially this 1/8 inch thick acrylic. So one of the things you can do is run a material test, and this is the same across the board for most lasers, especially the Flux. So here we did an engraving test. So this was with the Air Assist on. We'll go into this a little bit later, but there's going to be a difference in engraving if you have the Air Assist on versus off. So here it's on, but it's kind of hard to see on camera, but here up in the top left-hand corner, you can see the most white, but as you go down the test here, there's a little bit of green peeking through. So you want to take a look at it, see which settings you want to engrave with and what's going to look best for your project.
Yeah, and the great thing about a material test is it helps you avoid, so for example, if you have your power and your setting too high and you're trying to engrave, but you actually cut all the way through, that's no good, but this helps you kind of have a jumping off point. You're wasting less material. You've got this for a reference point as you move forward and do different projects with your material.
Yes. And did you want to go ahead and show them the one where the...
And another thing is, and we'll get to when to turn the Air Assist on, when to turn it off, but here's an example of, this is an engraving when we had the Air Assist off. And you can see it's much cleaner. It looks, Is it in focus now? Okay, thank you. We've got our behind the scenes lady directing here so everybody can see. So you can see that it's much cleaner engraving versus when we engraved with the Air Assist on. It's very, it doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's the difference. So if you're running into those things, it might be an issue of engraving. Now you
Yep.
can engrave with the Air Assist on and clean it afterwards, but it just
Right.
kind of depends on what you're doing and what your goals are. But we wanted
Yep.
to show the difference between those two things.
And with the material test too, you're going to be able to see which looks the best for your project. And the same thing goes with cut settings. So like I said, acrylic cuts really, really easily, so any of the settings here would work well to cut through the material. You can always look on the back as well, but it looks like most of these settings here are working pretty well. So I also have a test with the 1 1/4 inch acrylic, and a 1/4 inch is a little bit harder to get through. So you can see only these top 3 was able to get through the material, but this is why material tests are very important.
Yes,
So,
they're very helpful and it's a very good reference to have.
yes.
So now we're going to walk you through step by step how we made this 2-ply acrylic project, this little cute little baseball bat keychain for Ellie. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our acrylic material, and don't forget, always turn on your BOFA or
Yep.
we've got a BOFA or whatever
Air extraction.
extraction system
Yeah.
that you're using. So don't forget to turn that on. So the first thing that you're going to do is we're going to actually keep our masking on
Yep.
when we're cutting. So we're going to take our material and put it in the laser. This is our Flux Beambox 2.
Yep. And then make sure your air assist is on for cutting. We are going to cut the material first.
Yep, so we're going to put it in and we're going to autofocus. And we always want to have the air assist on for cutting, like Kylie said, because that will help with avoiding flare-ups and fires and things like that that you don't want to have. So we've got our air assist on, and we actually created these here. This is a great project to do if you're testing out your material, you know, trying 2-ply material projects. We actually have a little magnet that we have air assist off or on so we can remember what we've done. So we're going to go ahead and cut, and we've got the masking on, so she's going to send the job from Beam Studio to the machine, and we're going to cut out or vector cut out the shape first. So, and another thing to make sure is that your material is flat
Yep.
in the bed of your laser. Something that you can do is maybe use like a masking tape or something like that to hold the material down,
Yep.
because we are going to actually peel off the masking to engrave. So typically if you're doing like maybe just like we're just making 1 or 2, that's something that you can do. So holding that material down will help so you don't knock the material out of place when you go back to engrave it.
Right.
So the autofocus is on, we're engraving, and it looks like
Yep.
it went right through. And we used the settings, again, we found the settings based on that material test that we did.
Yep.
So that's how we found out what settings to use. There are also some settings that are preset in Beam Studio, but it's always a good idea to still run a material test because there might be some small adjustments that you need to make, and then you have it for the future when you're making a reference. So now that we've cut it out, we're going to reach in and we're going to peel the masking off for an engraving, and we're also going to turn our air assist off. So I'm going to peel the masking off while Kylie turns the air assist off. So I've got the masking peeled off, and just an FYI, we've got a very tall table here, so if you're ordering the Beambox 2, make sure you've got a shorter table, or maybe you're taller than us. We're pretty short people here, but it just looks really tall because of our table is really tall. So now that we've got the masking off and the air assist off, we can go ahead and engrave. And remember, we wanted to turn that air assist off because if you engrave with the air assist on, it's going to give you that more, I'm not sure if, are we in focus there? It's going to give you that more, less clean look. So now we're using the settings that Kylie had from her material test for engraving, and we're going to send the job using those settings to the
Laser.
to the machine. What is it called? To the laser. To the Beambox 2. And while she's sending that, just some other quick tips for engraving material. Make sure maybe you're trying to engrave and it's cutting all the way through and you're not sure why. So make sure your artwork isn't set up and something's treating it like a cut line,
Right.
Because that can happen. Make sure if your program is set for each layer.
Yep.
So make sure you have a layer that's cutting, a layer that's engraving. That's something to check if you're struggling. Also, if your engraving is really light, sometimes that happens.
Yep.
You can maybe back down, or I'm sorry, if it's too light, more power.
Yep.
Another thing folks run into is chattering, or it looks like the edges are kind of chewed up.
Yep.
That's where you can slow down. You might be going too fast.
Yep.
Now, if you're cutting really, really deep, but not all the way through, maybe reduce the power.
Yep.
But one thing is, be sure when you're testing these things, always change one factor at a time. So change the power and see how it goes, or change the speed and see how it goes. That way you can figure out really what's the best setting.
Right.
Any other tips for like maybe cleaning material that you have, Kylie, or?
Yeah. So a couple ways that you can clean material. So you can do Dawn dish soap. You can do like with a soft rag, or like a magic eraser that typically gets the excess like plastic engraving off the material really well without drying out that material. So it looks like our keychain is done here, and Jackie's going to go ahead and pull it out.
So you can see, I'm going to shut this so it's quiet. So you can see, so we just engraved with the Air Assist off, and it came out beautifully. And we cut it out, and it cut out beautifully as well. And now you've got a really beautiful 2-ply material project.
Yeah.
So those are kind of just some of our tips and tricks for getting started with a 2-ply acrylic. So you might not be wanting to just do only one keychain at a time. So we do have some tips for if you want to do maybe 25 of these at a time, which probably makes more sense for production. So what you could do is you'll duplicate your design in your software. And then when you put your material in, you can actually take all of the masking off when you are cutting them out. So you'll take the masking off and cut with the Air Assist on. And then when you send your engrave layer, you can turn the Air Assist off. So that's just a tip for how to do multiple of these at a time. Something else that we want to touch on really briefly is flare-ups. And do you want to talk about what a flare-up is?
Yeah, so a flare-up, when you see it in your laser, it kind of looks like a lighter.
Yeah.
It's a little fire. It shouldn't be anything huge, but when you see it, you're gonna know. And this can happen because of two reasons. So when you're cutting, it's because your speed is too slow. If it's when you are engraving, that might be because the Air Assist is off or you're also going too slow.
Yeah.
So it's important to take a look at both of those factors, change one or the other, and then
Yeah, and like Kylie said, so the flare-up is basically just extra material being vaporized, and the way you can avoid that is maybe speed up, or you can take and cut out, if the material is like too close, you can take and cut out acrylic blocks and elevate your material, so that's another way if you're struggling with that. But overall, those are just some general tips for using 2-ply acrylic. Always cut with your Air Assist on. Turn it off for engraving, or you're going to get those kind of like messy engravings. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We've got a great support system here and a lot of tools and resources for how to use our materials. Always run a material test and keep that to reference. Again, this was our Beambox 2, which we love. It's a great machine. So And if you want to try out and create your own baseball bat keychain, there is artwork in the description. So thanks for watching.
Thank you.